So, with Modern Warfare, you can take a ton of different approaches to how exactly you want to play. You can try to play a bit more aggressive and build setups built around speed and power like you were doing your best Jeremy Clarkson impression. You can play a little more relaxed, or you can choose to play multiple other ways too. But when it comes to excelling in game and performing well, I think there are a few certain things that every player looking to improve should be using. So today we're breaking down 9 vital things that'll help you become a better and more consistent player here in Modern Warfare. But before we get into that, greetings, salutations, how art thou? That was hey, hi, how you doing, just not contemporary. Okay. Anyways, each and every day we are always covering the latest news and intel within the world of Call of Duty, so if you do want to stay up to date with all of that, feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. That way you'll always know when I post a new video. And of course, if you enjoy this one, let me know by dropping a like rating on it, as it would be much appreciated. Also, if you are curious, I've got a pretty cool announcement towards the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. But for now, let's get into 9 things you should always be using here in Modern Warfare. So, first and foremost, let's talk about a few settings that are well worth checking out, because ultimately, I feel like they can help improve your experience a ton. The first one is going to be aim response curve type, and this is a setting that we haven't really seen before in Call of Duty. So at first you may avoid changing it simply because it is unfamiliar territory, but I would strongly advise against that. Now, in the first few weeks of the game being out, I found myself using the dynamic curve type, which uses reverse S-curve mapping for fine aim rate control. And for what it's worth, I do feel like it felt way smoother than the standard curve type. Oh, and I should probably mention, aim response curve type is basically how your aim reacts when you move your right stick on your controller, and standard feels a little slow or sluggish in my own opinion. Anyways, like I said, originally I was using dynamic because I felt like it was a lot more responsive. But then, one day, just for the heck of it, I decided to try out linear, and maybe it's just a placebo, maybe there is actually a slight difference worth noting, but I do feel like my aim with the linear curve type feels a lot more accurate when it comes down to what I'm doing with my right stick compared to what I see on my screen. So using the linear aim response curve type is definitely something to look into. Next up, the other setting that I wanted to highlight for this video is that of the button layout, because changing this can also help improve your gameplay experience quite a bit as well. Now, we do have plenty of options to choose from outside of the default layout, which is fine for what it is, but you can really optimize your button layout in far greater ways by choosing an alternative setup. Now, my preferred layout is going to be tactical. I think it works great when paired with a SCUF controller, which, by the way, in case you missed it, I did just recently become a SCUF partner, so you can use code IMMORTAL to get 10% off your order until December 2nd, and then 5% off after that. Little shameless plug, you know how it is. But basically, tactical layout allows me to melee with the circle button or a paddle on the back of my controller, and then my right stick is crouch and prone, so sliding, drop shotting, and all things like that are made way more convenient with this setup. So now that we've got all these settings out of the way, the remaining 7 things you should be using are all accessible directly in-game. For instance, the stippled grip tape, which I truly think is the single best attachment in the entire game. Now obviously, we have a ton of different attachments to choose from with each weapon, but the stippled grip tape is one that is almost always effective, as it ends up increasing the aim down sight speed and the sprint to fire speed, and in this game, where getting your sights up first and being on target faster is so important thanks to that quick time to kill, being able to increase both of those stats is incredibly beneficial, especially when paired with other attachments that do the same. So without a doubt, using the stippled grip is going to help you get a slight edge over your opponents, and honestly, I cannot recommend using it enough. Obviously though, you'll want to be using the stippled grip on weapons that are consistently good. So another thing you should always be using is the on-meta weapons, strictly if you are trying to improve at the game. Now, in my case, I need to use a lot of off-meta weapons for certain videos, or because I'm trying to get Damascus camo, or at least I'd like to think I'm trying to get Damascus camo. But I would not necessarily advise that you mess around with a ton of the off-meta weapons, because at times they do put you at a decent disadvantage. So when it comes to simply improving, using weapons like the M4A1, the Kilo, the MP5, and the MP7 is essentially going to make your life a whole lot easier, since those weapons are definitely some of the best in the game right now. Of course, with various updates, sometimes we do see weapon tuning and various adjustments added in, so those on-meta weapons can change throughout the year, but learning what those specific weapons are and capitalizing on their strengths before they get nerfed is a very, very good way to make sure you're at least at a level playing field with the enemies at all times. On a more personal note though, like I said, this is not really something you'll see me doing that much, as it's just kind of a conflict of interest when it comes to content and just my general goals with the game. Sticking with your choice of weaponry though, having 2 good weapons is always better than 1, right? Which is why using a second primary is another thing that I would recommend doing consistently. Now this does require you to use overkill in perk 1, but from my personal experience, some of my best gameplays stem from classes where I have, say, an M4 as a primary and then an MP5 as a secondary, instead of an M4 as a primary and a pistol secondary. Unfortunately, you do have to sacrifice something like EOD for this, but that second primary can seriously come in handy, especially if you are using one of the on-meta weapons in both your primary and your secondary spots. We also have to talk about equipment too, because that's another super important thing to use in certain cases, and here we have 2 mode-specific things that you'll really want to pay attention to. First and foremost, if you are a ground war player, I would recommend always using the thermite, as it is extremely effective against tanks. Like, we're talking hydro pump against a Charizard kind of effective here, so yeah, you get the point. With just how annoying the tanks are in this game, I don't know about you guys, but personally they are one of my least favorite things to run into in the entire game. The thermite offers a really simple yet effective way to counter them, so in ground war that is definitely my go-to equipment. Now over in other objective-based modes like domination or headquarters or hardpoints, there I would recommend using either the frag grenade or the C4. Now I primarily use the frag for its range compared to the C4, but either of those will fit perfectly for clearing out objective choke points, whether that be the B flag in domination or the new hardpoint or HQ. Nading that area or chucking a C4 into that area can be extremely beneficial for basically just cleaning house. I do also want to mention that while those are my recommended pieces of equipment for each mode, I will occasionally bounce back and forth between them depending on any given day of the week, you know? Sometimes C4 in ground war is a bit more fun, and I kinda just accept that a tank is gonna mess me up. Other times the frag is what I choose to roll with, but if you are simply just looking to improve, I think my recommendations can certainly help. Following that up, we've gotta mention Dead Silence. I think, above all, this is without a doubt the most useful field upgrade, as it allows you to play a bit more aggressive. Thanks to the movement speed increase, as minor as it may be, it can help. And of course, no footstep audio is key as well, since you can sneak around without the enemies hearing you in most situations. Then, finally, I would also suggest using a party to your advantage as well, meaning you should try to play with friends as much as possible, because playing this game solo, especially with the matchmaking, can be a real tough time. Whereas, at least with a party, you'll have teammates that 1, you can count on, and 2, will most likely have better communication than just some randoms on the PlayStation mic instead. Now, as I mentioned at the very beginning of the video, I do have a little announcement to make before we do close things out for today. And so I would like to formally announce that I now have a Discord server for you guys to join if you'd like. And there you can be notified when I upload new videos, you can hang out with other members of the community, and whenever I actually get into a decent streaming schedule, we will also be doing some viewer lobbies from the Discord too. So from here on out, if you would like to join the secret club, that link will always be down in the description below. However, I do also want to say, keep an eye out in some of the upcoming videos, because I am currently working on a ton of really exciting stuff behind the scenes that I absolutely cannot wait to share with you guys when the time is right. Anyways, with all of that being said, those are 9 things you should pretty much always be using here in Modern Warfare, and that is going to wrap things up for today. If you guys enjoyed the video or if you just found it helpful, let me know by dropping a like rating on it, as it would be much appreciated. And of course, if you are new here and you want to stay up to date with everything going on in the world of Call of Duty, including all the latest news and intel, updates and leaks, and pretty much everything else in between, feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. That way you'll always know when I post a new video. As always, if you would like to check out any of my partners, be sure to use code IMMORTAL on all Scuff, G Fuel, Control Freak, and Respawn products. You can find all of those links listed down in the description below, and once again, thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.